In this video, we are going to learn the lie of the soul surviving the body. Now, is Adam and Eve alive or they are still dead? Because if the soul would survive the body after a person dies, that means that Adam and Eve are in heaven. Now we'll learn as well the truth about the resurrection. Religion or the Holy Scriptures, which is true from this, because we have over 42,000 religions and the Bible is one. Where stands the true authority based on prophetical events and God's approval of spiritual matters? In religion or in the Bible? I recommend stopping the video into sections in order to meditate with a fresh mind and get a better sense of this biblical knowledge. For thousands of years, humans have tried to find out the true meaning of life and have put efforts by different means to extend it. In the past, some have taken mercury, and as a result, in some cases, they died instantly. This desire for humans to live forever and never die is instilled within them, starting right with the first human, Adam. Adam was created logically wise, with the concept of life and the concept of death. On the other hand, animals were simply created instinctively wise, without any concept of understanding or to understand the meaning of life. Animals were created with a short lifespan and been replaced with their little ones left behind. Sadly, today, humans are the same as animals, since for over 6,000 years their lifespan is too short, only 2 billion seconds if they are that healthy. But death doesn't harmonize with human concept and meaning, as it does not feel natural from deep within. That is why when our loved ones pass away we cry, since this enemy death is not natural for us to accept. Even though we are used with the expected continuous concept of birth, growing old, getting sick, and eventually are still dying for about 6,000 years since with Adam and Eve, the first humans walking on earth, of course, the eternity ingrained within us right from the start, right with Adam and Eve. Yes, this undefeated emotion and urge to live and not to die is going to stay at the same depth within our heart until this desire to live forever and never dying again will be fulfilled once for all times. Since the true God created Adam and Eve to live forever, then why death is ruling as king? And at the meantime, we are still dying and we don't see any prospect of dominating this enemy. Adam lived 930 years. Methuselah lived 969 years, and Noah lived 950 years. However, no one of them reached 1,000 years. Humans in the beginning were very close to perfection, or close to 1,000 years of living. If any one of them would reach 1,000 years of age, then he would have been perfect, and that person would be with us still today, strong like a bull, healthy. Humans like Adam, Methuselah, and Noah were very physical and could not get sick like we do today. They had children even after being 500 years of age, like Noah, who had 3 sons after being 500 years of age. They simply had dropped a few years from perfection. On the other hand, we today have fallen down 930 years from perfection. This is a big difference in years because we live 70 years and no more than that. We can extend the life in some developing countries with medications. We can go 80, that's all, but between 70 and 80, this is human life, and even some die before 70. Nonetheless, we are not hopeless even though we die today in this short lifespan. We will see how we are going to get back on our feet and reach perfection if we submit honestly, humbly, and with a proper appetite relating to this true wisdom and knowledge based in God's Word and, of course, based on common sense as well. Because the desire to live and never die is so undeniably strong within us, the wicked one, Satan, which means opposer of God's sovereignty, and the devil, which means a liar, starting with Eve, because that's his first deception. He deceived Eve. He lied to Eve. He knows very well the need or the necessity that humans are created to satisfy their spiritual needs. This need of satisfying our spirituality is so strong that no one of us can ignore, no matter how wicked a human might become. It would be the same as to ignore the need for breathing air, eating, drinking, and sleeping. Besides, in contrast with animals, humans are made not to dominate each other, but rather to love and enjoy their company. All these needs are related with our spiritual need or spirituality. Hence, as the enemy of humanity, Satan the devil knows this related structure since with Adam and Eve. He approached Eve in a way that she would fall for his bite. And she did. Oh, what was it? Based on the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 1 to 5, Satan used the serpent in an indirect form of reproach, of approach. Let's see what these verses say. Serpent said to Eve, "Did God really say that you must not eat from every tree of the garden?" At this the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden, but God has said about the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, you must not eat from it. No, you must not touch it. Otherwise, you will die." At this the serpent said to the woman, "You will certainly not die." You will certainly not die. Because Eve was conscious what God said, that you will positively die if you touch the tree. But serpent, or the devil, said, "You will certainly not die." Now who is right here? God that gave the command, or the serpent, Satan? It continues. "For God knows," the serpent says, "that in the very day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and bad." Yes, the serpent promised Eve the survival hope of being like God and never dying. Once again, Satan said to Eve, "If you touch the tree, you will not die. Actually, you are going to be like God himself, knowing good and bad." Satan, as a powerful angelic creature, was able to make a snake talk like a human and to communicate directly to Eve. Eve thought when the snake, that is not human, touches the forbidden tree and possibly eaten from it, this inferior creature is becoming superior like us humans. I am already a human, she thought. So if I touch and eat from the forbidden tree, I will automatically be transformed from being a human to becoming like God, knowing what is good and what is bad. Badness did not exist before Eve. So after Eve touched the tree and ate from it, or Satan that seduced Eve and deceived her, so these are acts of badness. So badness started with this angel called Satan the devil. He had a different name which we don't know because the Bible never reveals it, because it was based on the privilege he had when taking care of the garden. But he lost that privilege, so he lost that name. Now he got a new name, despicable one, Satan the devil, opposer and liar. Now, badness was introduced. So, badness was introduced for the first time when this angel, who was in charge of the Garden of Eden, lied to Eve by making himself, again, devil, a liar, and Satan, opposer against God's arrangement of things. I think I emphasize this point because we don't want you to forget. This point is so important, so vital to keep in mind. Now, Eve, by obeying this presentation, I might say, and acting upon, made herself Satan's accomplice. From that time on, Eve was truly like God in a sense of knowing the difference from that of what is good and what is bad, relating to her regret. The same regret was felt by this fallen angel as well, exposed under his desperation when he tried so hard in front of the angels of God to get the person of Job a few thousand years later. This is a theme we are going to explain through in another future video. It's very important to know the desperation of this angel. Now, after all, even though created a perfect angel, Satan didn't do good calculations before he decided to take this sinful path or course with a wicked desire of being worshipped from Adam and Eve, and subsequently from their newborn children on the way. So he thought that he knew, because he was existing for probably billions of years before Adam and Eve were created. But he forgot that he had limitations, as many other angels do. Even Michael, Jesus Christ, the resurrected, he has limitations as well. The only person in the universe that does not have limitations is only Jehovah God. We all have limitations. Limitations are put it on us mentally, emotionally, physically, in all possible aspects. So we have limitations. Only Jehovah doesn't have limitations. That's why he has no beginning, he has no end. And this angel, Satan, the devil, he thought that he did not have limitations. He knew it all, but he was wrong. Now, Satan craved the authority that only the Almighty God Jehovah deserves. Jesus himself, when he was on earth, refused to be worshipped. On the contrary, he directed people to worship his heavenly Father Jehovah instead. Is mentioned to the book of Matthew, or all four Gospels mention this, that he gave the glory to his Father. Again, back to our original point, Satan the devil presented to Eve as a subject the surviving of the soul. So when the body dies, when a person dies, his soul goes to heaven. That's the idea he gave to Eve. So she did not need to be concerned any further, as she was going to know what is good from that of which is bad, and at the same rate becoming like God Himself, and as a reward never dying. After Eve messed up, she came to her senses, but it was too late. She was going to die after a few hundred years and becoming dust. When death is in front of you as a destination, even though living 1 billion years, this is a fearful thing when it comes to facing death again. Keep in mind that 1 billion years are less than a second in comparison with the eternal life of or everlasting life. A subject, or this subject, of resurrection is mentioned in the Bible 40 times. Living forever on the earth is mentioned in the Bible 40 times as a subject. The same resurrection is mentioned in the Bible 40 times. So is a reason why so many times. Eve alone with Adam have died about 6,000 years ago. Again, Eve together with Adam, they have died about 6,000 years ago. And they are still dead today. They are not in heaven. They are not in heaven with Jehovah, because to be in heaven means to be in heaven with God, right? Of course, based on the first lie expressed from Satan to Eve. So you'll become like God, means that you'll be with God, knowing good and bad. You'll be in heaven. You will actually not die. That was the lie that is spread even today. Now, they are conscious of nothing. We have to analyze this. They are simply dust. Something Jehovah warned Adam right from the start at Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 to 17, which says, Jehovah God took the man Adam and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and take care of it. Jehovah God also gave this command to the man: from every tree of the garden you may eat to satisfaction, but as for the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat from it, for in the day you eat from it, you will positively die. Consequently, Eve continues to be dust and conscious of nothing at all, based on the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 5 and 6, which says, For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing at all, nor do they have any more reward, because all memory of them is forgotten. Also, their love and their hate and their jealousy have already perished, and they no longer have any share in what is done under the sun. At the same chapter, verse 10, it says, Whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might, for there is no work, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you are going. What should we believe here? Satan the devil with his 42,000 religions or false religions that he operates, or the Bible? So the true God speaks to us through the religions, thousands of them, or through the Bible. So which is true and which is false? However, since this lie worked perfectly well right from the start with Eve, Satan the devil still is using the same lie 6,000 years later. He knows well that such emotional and psychological influence would provide a measure of hope to those who still believe the lie of that of surviving of the soul after the person dies. Satan knows it well that humans are in deep spiritual darkness or spiritual famine, as they know nothing of what the true meaning of soul is all about. Something we are going to bring to light and differentiate it from that of the spirit or the life force within us. That is why lack of spirituality contributes to lack of faith, and consequently, lack of faith contributes to iniquity or sin. Moreover, this video will assist us not to dwell in ignorance and continue being dominated by the false teaching of the soul surviving the body after death. Importantly, let us learn about life and especially about the true meaning of life with eternity in view. Death was not the purpose of the true God for the obedient mankind. On the contrary, life everlasting is what we need in order to worship the true God from eternity to eternity. Dead people cannot worship God. Only the living can. Jehovah God put us here on this earth to live forever and worship his person forever. Let us now see why, how, and when this accomplishment will be fulfilled. First, let us learn thoroughly what is or what does the word soul mean in the Bible. After understanding the meaning of what soul is all about, subsequently, we will no longer believe in the soul surviving the body after it dies. On the contrary, resurrection, which is mentioned again about 40 times in the Bible, this powerful divine act is going to make perfect sense instead. Again, what does soul really mean? In the Bible, soul means a person, blood, life, or everlasting life. Hence, soul is physical 100%. Let us analyze it. At 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 50, Apostle Paul said, "Flesh and blood cannot inherit God's heavenly kingdom." Simply, blood and flesh or soul cannot go to heaven. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 26-27 gives a warning not to eat the blood of any animal because the soul is in it, or simply, it is the soul. Blood is the soul. In the old Bibles, the word person is originally written soul. But as many people would have hard time to conceptualize the word soul as a person, most translations have replaced the word soul with person instead. The book of Ezekiel has preserved the word soul in chapter 18:4, which says, "Look, all souls, to me they belong. The soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son. To me they belong. The soul who sins," the soul who sins is the one who will die. Many translations have it the person instead of the soul. Verse 20 of the same chapter says again, "The soul who sins is the one who will die." At the book of Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, Jesus said, "Do not become fearful of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in Gehenna, or second death, or forever." Soul, in this aspect, is the everlasting life, and it will be thrown in Gehenna. So soul is life or everlasting life, and you will lose that privilege, Bible says, if you don't fear him who kills both the body and the soul. Or clearly, you will not inherit everlasting life. Gehenna means second death or eternal destruction or eternal death. Yes, here again, the soul is being killed or destroyed, or rather not been resurrected, as Gehenna, as I mentioned, according to Jesus' expression, symbolizes everlasting destruction or death. Again, at the same rate, here, soul means life or everlasting life. It's so important to repeat these points, because by repeating them often, we are going, these things are going to stick to our mind and we will not forget them easy. These are powerful expressions full of meaning and with no contradiction, biblically speaking. As we mentioned, soul means a person, blood, life, and everlasting life. Subsequently, here we see the harmony of the scriptures in relation with resurrection of the righteous and the unrighteous based on the book of Acts. Hence, soul is visible and can be touched, embraced, loved, fed, and so on. Soul is not invisible or a spirit form. Now, what is the difference of the soul with the spirit? Based on the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7, Bible says, "And Jehovah God went on to form the man out of dust from the ground, and to blow into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living soul or person." Yes, when God created Adam, he created Adam from the dust. Adam at first was created as a dead soul. After giving the perfect shape to the dead body of Adam, the true God inserted the life force or the breath of life through his nostrils, and Adam became a living being or living soul. So, from a dead soul became a living soul. Again, from a dead soul, Adam became a living soul through the breath of life or the life force. Let us count this matter like we do mathematics in a sense. Dead soul plus life force equal living soul. Again, dead soul plus life force equal living soul. So as we have a dead soul, this means that the soul who sins dies as well after living for a while. We all, at the meantime, under are under the authority of sin inherit from Adam and Eve. Hence, for over 6,000 years, we are conditioned with the expectations of human birth, old age, sickness, and eventually death. As we all are under such sinful condition and authority, we at the meantime die, or biblically our soul or our person dies. First, we become a living soul when we are conceived at the womb of our mother. In time, we grow old and get sick and eventually die by becoming a dead soul for a while. In time, we become dust and are no longer even a dead soul. Again, based on the book of Ezekiel, soul that is sinning, it itself will die. We simply disappear. Despite this fact, we do not simply disappear in Jehovah's perfect memory. Thank God for this. We are not hopeless. But then again, the point is, the soul is visible since it is our physicality, blood and life. On the other hand, the spirit is invisible. It is our life force, the force of life, or the breath of life that Jehovah put it through the nostrils of Adam in order to bring him to life as the living soul or being. Let us clarify further the breath of life as a point. For instance, when a person in hospital experiences a heart attack or his heart stops, the doctors use electrical cardioversion, a high energy shock, to revive or put back to work the heart. Through this shock or energy, the doctors are too quick to catch up with the remaining life force still operating in the cells. If they delay this shocking procedure by the usage of two electrodes, consequently, the life force will get out of the cells and they will fail to revive the heart again. The life force, or the breath of life, is the spirit that the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 7 mentions or describes. Again, only as spirit, but never as a soul. This scripture says, after a person dies, then the dust returns to the earth, just as it was, and the spirit, or the life force, or the breath of life, returns to the true God who gave it. Yes, the true God inserted the same spirit or life force to Adam when he first was formed from the dust as a dead soul, a spirit that vitalized Adam by making him a living soul. After Adam died, the same spirit left him, or leaving his body, and going nowhere, like a breath that goes nowhere. However, the Bible symbolically says that the spirit goes to God, who in reality doesn't need it. The true God is going to give the life force to billions, especially he will do so when resurrecting or bringing back to life our dead loved ones, of course, in the future. How do we keep this life force inside of our body alive? This is an interesting point. We do so through rest, sleep, breathing, eating, rejoicing, and enjoying life in full, positively speaking. However, we are not that much conscious about this. The same as we are not conscious for our heartbeats. Nevertheless, it is important for us to know the importance of the life force and the difference it has from our soul or fleshly body. We simply perish if our life force has pretty much lost its potency within our fleshly organism. We lose it somewhat gradually with old age and sickness, and eventually end up dead or a dead soul. So, the soul is physical, but the life force is invisible, and when it leaves our body, it goes nowhere. Again, as we mentioned, it leaves our fleshly organism the same as our breath does. However, for Satan to preserve his first lie, starting with Eve, he uses his co-workers or his fallen angelic brothers called demons so as to convince many of us who believe in the lie of, again, the soul surviving the dead human body, that our dead loved ones or our dead loved one is not really dead but is still alive. In order to accomplish this, demons have sufficient power to perform visualizations by appearing to us with the same physiognomy and voice, imitating that of our dead loved ones who have passed away. They are doing this not with any sense of empathy or purpose so as to comfort our emotional disturbance. On the contrary, they are eager to keep us going with the same belief that our dead loved ones are not really dead, but are still living in heaven with God. This same conviction will associate them as well when they face the enemy death with the hope of going to heaven and meeting the rest of their family members who have already died, and at the same rate they are still with God. As we mentioned earlier, the book of Ecclesiastes clearly emphasizes in chapter 9, verse 4, 5, and 10, that the dead are conscious of nothing at all. Yes, of nothing at all. They are dust, not different from animals. They simply wait for waking up from the deep sleep of death through resurrection mentioned in the Bible, again, exactly 40 times. By the way, in the Bible are 9 resurrections performed with the intent to demonstrate what God's heavenly kingdom government, directed by the resurrected Jesus Christ or Michael, will do during the period of 1,000 years of peace right after Armageddon. So, if the soul would survive the body after it dies, then the Bible is telling us a lie. Right? Is it true? But religions, on the other hand, 42,000 of them are right. Is it true? Who is right and who is wrong? Now we can ask a question. Again, what is right here? The worldwide organized religion that believe the soul survives the body after it dies, or the Bible? Does the true God communicate with us through religion or through his written word, the Bible? We just have to reason here. Definitely, the scriptures never mentioned at a single verse the soul survives the body after a person dies. Now, it's not mentioned even once in the Bible. However, the scriptures strongly emphasize resurrection. Again, the book of Acts, chapter 24, verse 15, is the solid point about resurrection. That is why understanding the meaning of the soul is an important point before we understand the meaning of resurrection. We understood the meaning of what the spirit or active force with human soul is all about. Yes, the spirit and the soul are two different things. The soul without the spirit or the breath of life is practically dead. Jehovah instilled within the dead soul of the first man Adam the force of life or the breath of life through his nostrils, and Adam became a living soul. If he would have not broken God's command, or right in the beginning, Adam would be still alive today, definitely. Because of his disobedience, he lived just only 930 years, nothing. Now let us talk about resurrection of our dead loved ones after Armageddon, a powerful, exciting, and loving event which will take place gradually when considering about 29,000 or 29 billion people coming back to life. As we just mentioned, the book of Acts chapter 24:15, which says there is going to be a resurrection of the righteous and the unrighteous. First, who are the righteous people? So, in the Bible, the righteous people are constituted all servants of Jehovah, starting with Abel, Noah, Moses, David, Daniel, as well as all those who have been preaching and teaching God's heavenly kingdom government as a theme of the whole Bible in detail on 20th century and 21st century, but many of them have died before the Great Tribulation and Armageddon. So these ones, or these righteous individuals, even though small in number in comparison with the majority of the already dead worldwide population, 29 billion as I mentioned, these individuals, based on the book of Acts, they will be resurrected first. Jesus Christ, along with his co-rulers, starting with his disciples, or rather the established God's heavenly kingdom government, will be directed or will be directly in charge for the resurrection of people after Armageddon. The perfect memory established in Michael or the resurrected Jesus Christ will not miss any detail of the individual being dead for thousands of years. For instance, like that of Abel. The person will come back to life with the same habits, mental and emotional weaknesses and deficiencies, and so on. On the contrary, when it comes to physicality, he or she will be resurrected healthy, when he or she was possibly about 20 years of age or 20 years old. Although the resurrected person, when they died, might have been 90 or 100 years old, full of wrinkles and physical weaknesses, some were handicapped with no arm or leg, resurrection will bring them back to life physically complete and healthy. Many have been drowned in lake, river, sea, ocean, like in Titanic, during First and Second World War, in being drowned on the sea when their ships were wrecked or bombed, or burned alive with fire and so on. They will come to life calmed down and relaxed from such trauma, despite the fact that all the years past, even thousands of them in number, will seem to them like yesterday. It's the same like you go to sleep tonight and you wake up in the morning. Is going to feel just like a few hours, even though thousands of years have already passed. Definitely, both the righteous and the unrighteous people will know they have been dead, not necessarily based on their old personality, but based on physicality, especially to those who have been very old and others who have been handicapped. Here comes the necessity of the 1,000 years period of peace, so as to assist all the resurrected ones, especially the unrighteous people who had no clue who the true God Jehovah was or is. Yes, possibly billions of people who are resurrected before they died, they did not hear about Jehovah, the creator of the universe, because of lack of possibility, based on their isolated or hidden locations or many other unknown reasons. And many people who died in China, for instance, China is big, 1.5 billion people. So the good news has not been spread there that much. So Jesus said that was not going to reach all the corners of the earth. But during the resurrection, all these billions of people in China and in other countries that had no opportunity to hear about Jehovah, they will have now during the 1,000 years of peace. So they will know who the true God is in a complete sense. Now, because the number of the resurrected people is too large, the resurrection of the unrighteous will take place gradually, because many of them are rebels. They don't let us to accomplish things because they have the same personality, the same wildness within them. So by being resurrected gradually, we are able to control them. Otherwise, they can get off hand. Now, this way, when they are resurrected gradually, little by little, not in mass, they will not again be permitted to act based on their aggressive personality, molded by the former dead spirit of the past tense destroyed human society. They will be controlled and pacified by the positive and humble spirit of the survivors of the Great Tribulation many years ago, as well as the trained resurrected people who are already the same as them in the past, but now they are molded with the spirit of the new human society surrounding them. If they refuse to obey this spirit, now this is different. After they've been resurrected, even though a few now gradually been resurrected, if they refuse to obey this spirit, these individuals, they will be, a few of them, will be eliminated right away, once for all time. Then there will no longer be any clemency shown to them. This is described in the book of Isaiah chapter 60 verse 20. Such person will go automatically to second death, or no longer have any hope for resurrection. Someone might ask, how can God remember the names and details of each individual that have died for thousands of years in the past? This is a simple math. For instance, Jehovah created all material universe with billions and billions of galaxies and there are billions of stars. Each galaxy has billions of stars within. Yes, it does, scientifically. Our galaxy, Milky Way, for instance, has about 120 billion stars. The book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 4 and 5 says, Jehovah calls all of them by name. It is one thing to count the number of the stars, and it is another thing to call each one of them by name. Also, the Bible in the book of Isaiah chapter 40, 26, verse 26 repeats the same thing as that in the book of Psalms, but further adds that not one of them or from the stars he created, Jehovah created, is missing. Keep in mind, our galaxy, only our galaxy, has about 120 billion stars. Human life is only 2 billion seconds, not 120, but only 2 billion seconds. You see how big a number 1 billion is. And only our galaxy has 120 billion stars. That's incredible. So humans are 29 billion people that have died in comparison now with 120 billion stars. Let's repeat this again. How many stars have our Milky Way galaxy? In comparison, how many humans have been living and died for about 6,000 years, starting from Adam? Yes, humans that have already died during these 6,000 years are 4 times less in number than the number of stars, considering only that of our Milky Way galaxy, which Jehovah God calls all of them by name. We have humans on the earth that run out of names. My name is mentioned is millions of times on the earth because humans have they run out of ideas how to create names, but not for Jehovah. Not two stars have the same name. Not two galaxies, even though being by billions and their stars within them are by billions, not one of them have the same name. Not two flakes of snow are the same. So we are not considering here billions and billions of other galaxies with their billions and billions of stars in comparison with our Milky Way galaxy, that its number is 4 times bigger, larger than humans that have already died on the earth, which still the true God, Jehovah, calls them all by name, all the stars. So I like to repeat these things because I want to instill this point in your mind for good, not to forget it easily. That is why the name of the Almighty God, Jehovah, means he who causes us to become. He created us. He made the invisible universe, all the angels, millions of them. He made all these galaxies that we mentioned, billions and billions of them. He made our beautiful planet, the only planet where humans and animals can live and is life, because he made heaven for himself and the earth for us. Now, definitely, the number of people who have already died since with the first man Adam is insignificant for the true God to remember. He is God the Almighty, and as such, his thoughts and abilities are not like ours. Henceforth, let us put our complete trust in God, where all things are possible through him. Jehovah will bring back to life all our dead loved ones, not through the surviving of the soul, but by resurrecting their soul. And if these souls will continue righteous, they will be rewarded with everlasting life after the final test at the end of the 1,000 years after Armageddon, mentioned 6 times at Revelation chapter 20. Write down any question you might have. If you have any personal interest to know more, let me know. Spread this information if you can. And thank you.